Hey everyone, I have another REG server Meso tip for you here today. It's based on the familiars system. So if you're unaware, the familiars themselves can give your character a lot of useful extra stats like boss damage, ignore defense, percent strength, or whatever your main stat is, but we're mostly going to be focusing on the badges today. Now, you earn a badge when you have gotten all of the familiars in an area, and there's a list here that you can see, oh, this one takes all of these familiars, and you can go and get those, and the badge has stats that you will receive when you equip it. You can equip up to 8 badges. So there are some best-in-slot badges here. Depths, for example, gives 1% attack. Lion badge gives 1% attack. That's the Lionheart Castle. That's the Zakum area in El Nath. The Cloud badge is like Mulung, and it gives ignore defense. Time badge is Temple of Time, it gives ignore defense. So there's a few of these badges that are very, very beneficial to have that a lot of people want on their characters that they're going to be playing quite often. And we can farm familiars from these areas and sell them in the auction house for quite a bit of money. So one area I would suggest, just for example, let's take a look at the Lion badge. Go over to it here on our list, and you'll see it takes only 6 familiars, but the thing about Lion Badge is you have to do the Lionheart Castle prequests to get to these areas. So if we go into the auction house and check out what these familiars are selling for example, I've already looked some of these up. Crocky the Gatekeeper, minimum price 25 mil right now. Have any of them actually sold? Yeah, maybe not for 25 mil, but today is the 11th of July. The most recently sold is the 10th of July for 10 mil for one Crocky the Gatekeeper. And you see a few maybe sell every day, every few days here. So it's not a gigantic income basket here that you'll be receiving. But it is a lot of supplemental income for just having a bunch of familiars in the auction house. So Blood Reindeer, selling for, 15 to 30 mil, depending on the day here. So that's one suggestion I have in terms of hey, here's just find some familiars that sell for a high price in the auction house for badges that people want. There's a second part of that is the area bosses. So some of these badges, like the Temple of Time badge, you need to get boss familiar cards. So Dodo, Lilynouch, and Lyka from Temple of Time, for example. Now, Dodo sells for quite a high price. 130 mil is the lowest right now. A few days ago even, or even last week rather, it was above 300 mil and 400 mil and 500 mil because so many people wanted the time badge, the ignore defense badge, one of them, for their hyper burns or their collies that they were making. So that's another thing that you can do is farm these area boss familiars, and I'd like to show you how to farm these area boss familiars efficiently. And it does, for some of them, require use of a hyper teleport rock. So you can get one with reward points, or you can get one from the event shop. I've got this one here left over from the Collie events. It lasted me quite a while. It's going to expire today. That's why I wanted to do this video today. What you can do is you can save maps on your hyper teleport rock, and I have all of these maps saved that are related to where area boss familiars are. So I'm going to make my inventory small here, put it over to the side, and what I do is I just cycle through all of these maps with all of these familiars on them. And I would, this is Snowman for the Depths badge, which gives percent attack, for example. Now, I would strongly recommend doing this if you have a lot more drop rate than 0%. You will have a very hard time finding specifically these area boss familiars if you have a low drop rate. Any amount of drop rate will also not necessarily just make finding these familiars, the boss familiars, go faster, but it will make finding the Lionheart Castle ones go faster. You'll get them more often if you have more drop rate. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going down my list here on the same channel. And I have them all set up in such a way that when I get to the bottom, I'll just go back to the top. And usually I'll cycle through like 6 or 7 of these, depending on what I see is selling really well. And I'm not expecting to get anything really right now, this is just an example of how to do this. All of these bosses that I'm visiting here are worth typically quite a bit. So Snowman, Lich or Rich, depending on the translation team that you... I forget what they actually called this mob. They called it Lich, okay. It was Rich at some point. And so the 3 Dodo, Lilynouch, Lyka in Temple of Time. This was Roon of Mulung. King Sagecat does not drop a familiar card, so save your time there. Lord Pirate, if you do the Pirate PQ in the PQ area, you need 3 people to do it. Also sells for quite a bit there. And you just saw me kill Mano. Mano is useful for a magic attack % badge. And then we have Dry Desert, which is an okay badge. And the cool thing about the desert map here with Dio, which you need for this badge, is there's 2 of them that appear. So that's another good one to farm up. Wyvern Canyon? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this badge is really only used for Beast Tamers. This badge gives you skill levels +1. You can't teleport directly to this map, you kind of have to go down to this hidden street in the bottom left. Hidden Tower you get to from Eo's Tower in Ludibrium on, I believe it's floor 4. We can double check that really quickly, but there are 2 Rombots, one spawns at the bottom of the map, one spawns at the top of the map. You may have to kill a couple mobs to make them appear. Let's see what floor this actually is. Yeah, you get there via a hidden street on Eos Tower 4th floor, so you gotta travel a bit to get here in the first place. And then Showa, I have been kind of just messing around with a little bit, but I haven't really gotten much out of it yet. The female boss in the hideout here is a pain in the ass to get to, if I'm being real, and I have not gotten a single one of her from like 250 kills, even with all of my like 300% drop rate that I usually do this with. But you can't, when you change channels, when it takes you back to the entrance, you can't just hyper teleport rock all the way in here, and that's female boss right there. I've been trying to get her for a while, but I am over 200 of her etc. drop deep and have not found her, but she's just kind of a pain in the butt to farm. Now, why do we use the teleport rock here instead of just going to a map and changing channels a shit ton? As it turns out, this game, as you may or may not be aware of, is very much, its code is not very good. So if you change channels a lot, your client is going to crash very, very quickly. Like, I will crash within, like, sometimes within 20 channel changes, or I will crash, you know, sometimes, you know, every hour. But if I'm doing the hyper teleport rock to farm these mobs instead of changing channels like this, then I don't disconnect every, you know, so often at all. So it's just more efficient. Now, some of these bosses have longer respawn times than others, so you might notice, oh, if I'm farming too few of these or too many of these, you know, you might not be able to get the timing correctly on them. So Snowman, Forest of Dead, Snowman, Lich have a 25-minute timer, so does Roon. And I know that Dodo, Lilynouch, and Lyka have like a 5 to 10 minutes respawn timer. So if you're doing a hyper teleport rock through all of these different maps, I mean, you won't run into a respawn timer problem at all. But if you're doing like changing channels like this, which I don't recommend, just to farm all of them at once, then you'll hit like oh, they're not going to spawn for like 20 more minutes. Now I gotta go find something else to go farm. Both methods are valid. I just enjoy the client not crashing, so I use the hyper teleport method here. You could, of course, get to all of these maps and just change channels on them without a hyper teleport rock, but it does help a ton whenever you get a free one from, say, the daily gift or the event shop or even the reward points shop. So that's that. Hopefully you have some happy hunting with, you know, either you're farming a familiar that just sells for a lot every few days or something like that, like anything in Lionheart Castle, or any of those other familiars for the badges that we talked about that are very good for like attack percent or ignore defense. Maybe you'll find something that I have not found myself yet. Hopefully this helps you gain a lot of Mesos, and if you don't even plan on selling the selling the badges, and you just want to, or selling the familiar cards, and you just want the badges yourself, you know, it is an alright source of stat points. If you're like at min-maxing territory, you can get some extra, you know, ignore defense out of this, or attack percent out of this, or magic attack, or whatever. So hope that helped, and happy hunting, and hopefully you got some drop rate, or you got some on the way, and I'll see you in the next video, everybody. Take care.